Hello and welcome to Enquire to Choir. My name is Eva and I'm here to help you, fellow choir people. In this week's video, we're tackling a question I got from one of the channel's subscribers. The question was phrased like this. I'm writing you because I just started conducting an adult choir for the first time in my life, and although everyone tells me it's the same as conducting children, I still feel different with adults. Do you have any advice about dealing with adults? I watched your videos about difficult choir members. I don't have any, thank God. And I've also had 3 rehearsals with them already, and they went really well. But I don't know why I'm so nervous and uneasy when I'm with them. Do you think it's their size? Haha. I wish I knew what they are thinking. After tackling children's choirs and senior choirs here on the channel, I think it's time to talk about how to approach adult choirs. So let's start. Thank you, first of all, for trusting me with my opinion. I was mesmerized by the fact that we don't talk about adult choirs. I mean, we talk about choirs in general and we just assume that everything applies. But yeah, adult choirs are different for a very simple reason. You're dealing with adults. Fully formed people, you expect them to be fully formed, and the communication and the approach is not necessarily different, but it feels different. That is a very correctly put statement. It just feels different. I loved the sentence, I wish I knew what they are thinking, because I think that sums up the main problem with adult choirs and the main reason why it feels different than with children. First of all, I just want to explain to you that the feeling that you have with them is not your imagination or something trivial or you being something or lacking something which makes you feel uncomfortable. There is a really logical explanation that I once heard when it comes to being in that position, being a choir director, and that's connected to the public performance. You have to know that every time we approach a rehearsal, we stand in front of a group and we tell them things, we're actually performing in public in a different way, but it is performing in public. The situation you are in at the rehearsal, you are a single person standing in front of a group and you're moving and you're talking and you're telling them things and you feel vulnerable because they're sitting, they listen to you, you can see that they're acknowledging you, but they're sitting still and just being there, and it feels like they're just sitting and watching you. It's not just about the feeling of you being judged by them, because I don't want to make it feel worse, but you are being judged by them, subconsciously at least. But there is something about that situation when you're a single moving person standing in front of a very still group that makes our primal brain react. We feel like gazelles being watched by lions. And we actually talked about that when it comes to stage fright and your choir, so you can check that out. The video talks about your choir's stage fright, but the mechanism of this gazelle and lion is explained there more thoroughly. So I just want to start this by saying that your feeling is absolutely correct because you are in that position. You are being watched by people. The reason why it feels different than with children's choirs is plain and simple the lack of feedback. You feel like you don't have feedback because you tell them what to do and then they do it. Hopefully. They just do or they try to do what you tell them to do. Children are not that simple, although I would argue that children are very simple communicators. You always know where you stand with them. They will tell you, they will show you with their emotions, with their expressions, with their behavior. Adults don't do that. Adults just, they listen what you have to say and then they do it. And the feedback, you will not get it during the rehearsal, especially if you just started working with them. Adults have a different approach to choirs. First of all, you assume that they're full-grown adult beings capable of healthy communication. They have their mechanisms, their skills, their behaviors are set, their personality is fully developed. Children are not like that. You have to do things to make them learn things that are not necessarily connected to music or to choirs. So if you're used to children being reactive and you accommodating them and regulating their behaviors, it could come as a shock when adults are just doing what you tell them to do and nothing else happens. You do not need to trick adult choir members or charm adult choir members or do extra things to make them believe you. They understand authority and they understand where they came to. If they want to sing in a choir, it is completely natural for them to have a choir director who knows her or his stuff, gives instructions, and they just do what the authority says to do. They're used to having bosses. They agree with them or not, but they're used to having that authority that should be respected. When you're not used to it, it could come off as, oh my God, they don't like me. They're not reacting in any other way than just doing what I tell them to do. That said, people are different and groups of people are different. And I think there is a slight distinction with groups of adults depending on your age as a choir director. I feel it's different when I am 34 dealing with 25-year-olds than it was when I was 25 dealing with 25-year-olds. Also, it is very different I as a 29-year-old handling 50-year-olds than it's now for me as a 34-year-old woman handling 50-plus-year-olds. There is a difference between you being older than the choir, you being the same age as the choir, and you coming to a new choir with people that are older. They are grown-ups. They know everything they want to know. If they don't know something or if they want to learn something, they know how to get it. And of course, there is also the factor of if they're not happy with you as a choir director, if they're not satisfied with the choir or your work with the choir, they can just leave. They don't have any obligation. They're independent people with their free will. They have all the tools to just leave. Them being unhappy without you knowing and not being able to improve. The question of, am I doing things right? Do you think I'm worthy? Do you think I'm good enough? Do you think I'm doing okay? Is something that's probably going through your head. And that is completely normal. We are people. And for real, I want my choirs to be happy with me. I don't necessarily need them to think that I'm a lovely person or just amazing. But I want them to make me feel good. I want to be respected and I want them to think that I'm doing a good job. That feedback doesn't necessarily come via words, we're talking, via the atmosphere of the rehearsals. It comes either later after the first performance and then you see that they're happy or satisfied or they feel accomplished. My main point is you can't know what they're thinking and maybe you will never know. But eventually, certain things will develop and certain communication will happen. You will know. I say here on the channel often that if something is wrong, you would know, you will feel it. But when it comes to feeling like gazelles, you have to know that you are getting feedback by them doing what you tell them to do. If you give an instruction and they follow it, that shows respect. And that shows that you're doing a good job. They think you're doing a good job. If they weren't following the instruction without any hesitation, that would show that they don't have a good opinion of your choir directing. And until some words happen when it comes to the feedback, you have to take their sound as feedback. If they're getting better, if they try to do what you tell them to do, if they try to be better with your instructions, That's your feedback. They respect you. They think you're doing a good job. But sometimes that feels like, okay, what's going on? Because there is no fluff when it comes to the communication. It's very direct. You don't need to do anything extra. You just need to direct a choir. And please know that adults also can feel uncomfortable in a group. Maybe they don't know people from the choir. Maybe they don't know anyone by their name. Maybe they're not sure whether to speak up or talk to you. They just want to feel acknowledged and a part of the choir, and they want to give their best. They try to sing their best. They try to be as good as they can be. And they also feel vulnerable because at any moment, you or the other choir members can tell them they are not doing a good job. It's not so easy to make friends as adults. The choir formation is not a very welcoming formation. I mean, you just come to your voice and you're supposed to sing, and you know that if you do something wrong as a singer, it will affect the whole group. If we're talking about grown-ups, they're very aware of their mistakes, they're very aware of their flaws, their weaknesses, and they even make them bigger in their head when it comes to their voices. The atmosphere is more of a business one, and the group as a whole needs time to develop. You will get to know your group, your choir a bit better with time. For the first month of working with my newest choir, with choir members who are much older than I really didn't know what to think. They were just doing what I told them to do, and I didn't have any feedback. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see how that goes. I'll just do rehearsals and I count on eventually coming to some kind of a conclusion. And the conclusion eventually was that they were very happy. They just didn't need the extra. They didn't feel the need to express that during the rehearsals because they're in work mode. They just follow your instructions. They do what I tell them to do, and everything is okay. My authority in every one of my choirs is different. It feels different. And the communication I have with them, the commodity I have with them, the respect I have with each of my choirs is different. So I need to adapt everything I know about my choir directing to each one of my choirs. But the reason why I know how to do that is because I know my choirs, because I had to wait a bit to learn the approach. Just know that if you're doing something wrong, if they're not happy with your work, eventually you will find out. Them just sitting there and doing what you tell them to do and nothing more, nothing less than that is a good sign in my book. They came there to sing, to follow instructions, to be in a choir. And just a fair warning, just because you don't have difficult choir members doesn't mean that you will not get them eventually, or that some of the people from the choir will not become or turn out to be a difficult choir member. I don't want that for you, but just I want to keep it real. I don't know, adults are different. It's more business-like. I think that's the biggest difference. Learning is more direct when it comes to adult choirs, and instructions are direct, and sometimes it could feel a bit sterile, but it doesn't have to be. You will get to know your choir. You will get to know them after a performance or during the stress of a performance. And when you accomplish something via performance, you will probably get to talk to them a bit more. People are different. Groups of people are different. Choirs are different. Approaches are different. Trust that you know what you're doing. It could come off as a very strange thing, like, oh my God, we're just doing music and everything is working out. What is wrong? So if you're used to the chaos, then the tranquility of these rehearsals and these kinds of choirs could come off as strange, but don't doubt yourself. The fact that you asked this question, the fact that you're here on the channel means that you're thinking about how to be a good choir director. You're doing everything you can, and I'm sure that they're happy with your work. They maybe just don't feel comfortable yet to express it. After all, you are the authority of the group. You have the knowledge they probably don't have, and they too think about your feedback towards them. I would be happy to hear eventually in a few weeks, in a few months, how your choir is doing. It's never a lake, it's always a river. Processes happen and music develops and the group gets its identity with you as their choir director. So good luck. If you wish to see more from Enquire to Choir, you can watch all of the other videos here, or you can subscribe. New videos every Sunday. I hope I will get to stick to that schedule because the lack of time is getting real, but I will do my best. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all the support. Conduct well, conductors, and I'll see you next time. Bye!